So we have now come to the point of the program where we honor one of the true greats here in the state of Ohio. In his remarkably productive half-century career, one truism encapsulates the newest inductee into Ohio's Harness Racing Hall of Fame, and that's that Don Irvine Jr. has stood the test of time. The Mount Gilead, Ohio native exploded on the scene in the 1970s, dominating the track ranks at Northfield Park, and was greeted like a rock star on the Buckeye State's county fair circuit. Prominent owners and trainers competed for his catch driving services. His skills were eclectic, whether rateable on the engine, confident and quick from the pocket or a boxed-in traffic jam, or patiently timing a swoop from the back of the pack. Donnie ruled Northfield Park through most of the 80s, scoring 269 times in 1982 to rank among North America's best. He followed that up in 83 and 84 among the top 25 in the dash winning leaderboard. In 1988, with more than 20 meet driving championships under his belt, Junior migrated to Maryland and the highly competitive driving colony in the Baltimore, D.C. area. He quickly took them to school. Finishing first in both Money One and UDR at Free State Raceway's premier summer meet, he repeated those feats there in 1989, and for good measure, did the same at Rosecroft's 45-day fall meet. Don also set a record that season for most wins, 6 on a single card. His 354 total wins in 1989 ranked him 11th in North America, while his purse earnings were just over $2 million, which placed him 25th. In 1991, he was inducted into the Northfield Park Wall of Fame. Irvine returned to his home track in 1992 and quickly again took charge. He was tops in all 3 categories with 347 wins, a 345 UDR, and over $1 million in earnings, the first Ohio driver to reach the $1 million threshold in a single season. The veteran continued his winning ways in neighboring Indiana, capturing 6 additional driving titles at Hoosier Park in the 90s and 2000s. His dominance there contributed to his season-high Money One years of over $2.7 million in 2002. Over the last decade and a half, he has slid into Social Security status, but his stats are impressive over that time period. 8,603 starts and over $8.3 million in earnings. His UDR percentages from 2019 to 2022 were 331, 330, 292, and 337. The latter, the 10th highest in his half-century career. Raw talent, will and perseverance, an indomitable spirit, popular esteem, the respect and human kindness of his peers, and God's grace. They were all present on the long and winding road leading to this door that has finally opened. Now I will ask Michelle McCullough, Don Irvine's daughter, to come and continue the inductee into the Ohio Hall of Fame for Don Irvine Jr.
Thanks, Ayers. It's great to be back in the state of Ohio, and I'm honored to be here tonight with my family to induct my dad, Don Irvine Jr., into the Ohio Harness Racing Hall of Fame. As you've already heard tonight, my father has had an extraordinary career in harness racing that's lasted nearly 6 decades, and he's still not done yet. His achievements speak for themselves, and it's clear why he deserves this induction. Earlier this week, as I was preparing what I wanted to say at tonight's banquet, I called upon another accomplished and talented Irvine, my mom, Mary. I text messaged her and I said, "Mom, if you were me presenting this award on Saturday night, are there any stats or achievements in Dad's career that you think I should highlight? What would you say?" She simply wrote back to me, "Well, all I would say is that he just knows how to make a horse go." And she's right. So I said, thanks, Mom, but I can't write an entire 3-minute speech around that one sentence. So what I would like to share with you tonight are 3 things that I think further define my dad's career beyond his impressive statistics and innate abilities. Number 1, sportsmanship. Like all great athletes, Don Irvine Jr. possesses an unmatched understanding and knowledge of his sport. He shows respect for the sport, he plays fair, and demonstrates integrity and sportsmanship on the racetrack. He's confident in the bike, but he wins with humility. And he loses gracefully, too. Even after entering the winner's circle over 7,500 times, he doesn't take any win for granted. I admire this trait, I learned it by watching him, and it's become an important part of my value system in sports, in work, and in life. Number 2, work ethic. I bet if I took a survey in this room tonight and asked you for one word to describe Don Irvine Jr., the driver, the top response would be talented. Maybe a few other choice words too, but I think talented would take the top spot. If you asked me, I'd respond with work ethic. Talent has only been one part of the formula for his success. Having the work ethic to apply the effort and acquire the skills to achieve his goals has been the other part of the equation. He spent decades working hard, honing his skills, and mastering his craft. His work ethic is exemplified in all the wins and all the records, like one of my favorites from 1984, 3 feature races at 3 different tracks in one day. Finally, number 3, longevity. Perhaps the most astounding achievement of his career is his sustained performance over time, a career, again, spanning nearly 6 decades. He's maintained the ability to adapt to the changes that come with both the evolution of this sport as well as with age, and he continues to compete at the highest level. Just a year ago, at age 70, he recorded 7 wins on 1 card at the Lorain County Fair. Who does that at age 70? Dad, Tom Brady has got nothing on you when it comes to longevity. So, with that said, and without any further ado, please join me in congratulating my dad, driver Don Irvine Jr., on this most deserved induction into the Ohio Harness Racing Hall of Fame.
I'm not quite that good a speaker. I'll warn you guys ahead of time, but I'll do my best at what I have to say. First thing I want to say is I want to thank the people that elected me today into the Hall of Fame, or this year into the Hall of Fame. And I know one of the requirements I met to get this far is my age, because I don't see a lot of 35-year-olds in it. So I think you have to have that one requirement. You have to be old to get into it. So I made that requirement for sure, right? And don't ask Amy Holler about it, because she really tries me. But and second of all, I want to especially special thanks to all the trainers, first of all, owners, trainers, grooms, blacksmiths. Everybody helped me with my career, do things for me that people don't see, and they tried. As all the drivers know, we make 5% for driving because we do the littlest part of the work. Most of the work's done behind the scene, and I don't think most of the people get enough credit. Sometimes we get too much credit to drivers, and because when you drive horses, it's a little bit like driving a car with a flat tire. If the tires aren't pumped up and they're not ready to go, they're not fit, they're not fed right, they're not taken care of, they're not going to do very good. I know I've had a few long shot winners, so is Chris Page and everybody else. but you make a small living with them horses. When you're driving 50 to 1, 40 to 1 shots every night, you need legit horses with legit trainers, everything going your way to win races. It's a fun game. Anybody can win, but you also have to lose. And Chris, my stats, every driver's stats, you have way more losses than you're ever going to have wins. So, especially when you start out young, like I have a son, Justin's young. I said, you're happy when you win, but you're not very happy when you lose. He said, yeah, well, it's not much fun. I said, yeah, but you're going to lose a lot of times. I've lost a lot of times, and I will from now on. And they're talking about the longevity of almost 6 decades. And I might have overstayed my welcome in some people's eyes. Right now, I don't think I have. In the last 2 years, I've picked up a real good owner, a driver, a trainer, Rosie Weaver and Willis Troyer. That all I do mainly is drive for them only. And I buy nice colts when I drive at the stake races. Hopefully cider stakes, some of them aren't. But we have that wish, like everybody buys yearlings do. And if not, we'll go to the stallions, we'll go to the fairs. But I'm right today anyway, I'm their premier driver, you know. And not many people at my age, or maybe I don't have to get this old, have an opportunity to do that. And it's a great thing for me, and it's been good for Willis and Rosie also, you know. Hopefully it gets better and better. And I don't know how many more years that I want to do this. I guess the only way I'm going to look at it is if I feel that I can still have my reactions are really still good like they are today, maybe not like they were 30 years ago, but I'm very capable of making a lot of good decisions right now. And I think the time will come, like my daughter mentioned Tom Brady. I'll know when it's time that I don't belong out there. And the number one key will be if I go to put my colors on and my helmet on and I don't get excited, then you know what? Then it's time to hang them up. If that don't excite you to get in a bike behind a racehorse, something you've done for almost 60 years, then you need to hand the lines over and continue on with your life and do it out something else and turn it over to everybody else. But I don't see it next year or the year after, but I'll know, and probably drivers like Chris Page will let me know. Say, hey, old man, you need to stop. You gotta get somebody hurt out here. But yeah, but that being said, I'll tell you a couple of quick stories. And when I first started, I was in high school. You know, I first started jogging horses. I was about 12, maybe 10 years old at Mount Gilead Fairgrounds. I jogged because my dad made me, basically, you know. And I'd jog 1 or 2 a day, and that would be about it. And go to school, and I had to come in on the weekends and do stalls. I said, man, this is horrible. I do these stalls. I know he didn't do them yesterday because I'm coming today. And I said, I don't know if this is such a great thing I want to do or not. So, but I'm in school, and I'm trying to play sports. I was about 5 foot tall in high school, about 100 pounds maybe. I wasn't very good at baseball. Wasn't tall enough for basketball. I wasn't tough enough for football. So I said, I don't know. So I kept going up on the weekends doing them stalls and that, you know. Finally at 13, 14, 15, 16, I said, man, I can drive that. So wait a minute, you're not driving just yet. I'm driving, Janet's driving, Bill's driving. You're the last one to drive. Okay. So I finally get my big chance to go drive. Circleville Fair. I'm so excited. I get there, you know, I got a bad horse, but I didn't care. I wanted to be on the racetrack. And so I raced. I didn't do any good, which I didn't expect to. I get a call from Don Irvine Jr. come to the judge's office immediately. Real, like, stern voice. I didn't know who the judge was. I didn't care. I go over there. I'm scared to death. I said, what did I do? I was sitting like last the whole mile. I never got in the race. Go upstairs. The guy looks at me. His glasses down like this. He says, Mr. Irvine. I'm 16, he called me Mr. I said, what is it? But he's real tough. I said, yeah. He said, you want to be a driver? I said, well, yeah. That's why I'm here today. He said, well, if you want to be a driver, buddy, or Don, he says, you have to learn to dress like a driver. You want to be a driver, you got to look like a driver. He says, where's your driving boots? I said, I don't have any. So I have his tennis shoes. He said, well, that'll be a $10 fine. I said, I don't have $10. He said, you better find it. I said, okay. I left, so I went then I wasn't too sure this is what I wanted to do. I said, are you kidding me? I got yelled at my first drive. I got to pay $10. I don't have 10 cents. He said, I said, well, I keep doing it. I didn't drive none the next year either. So I kept plugging away, and finally, about the time, I really didn't get going until I was about 22 or 23 years old. But I never expected to land on a stage where I had to speak to people about what I've done and accomplished in my career, because they say you have goals. I was 20 years old when my son Brad was born. I had minimum money not very much money, and a wife, and no place to live. I lived in Akron, Ohio, with my mother-in-law. So my goal was to have enough money to feed and take care of Brad. And then that my daughter was born 7 years later, and I still didn't have too much money in the bank. I said, now I got 2 kids. That's my goal, is just to take care of everybody. Wasn't a goal to end up here, but then finally I got rolling and doing some good in the 70s and 80s, and so I did have a goal then. My goal wasn't just to be a top driver and make money. I wanted to be a horseman. I wanted to understand how to train a horse, how to drive a horse, win races. And I never dreamt I'd win 70-some hundred races. I just wanted to drive horses and win races and train horses. But I did want to have, because I'm being older, I like to go to Delaware like everybody still does. I still do. Little Brown Jug. I wanted to have a barn similar to when Stanley Dancer shipped in and Billy Houghton shipped in, all the Hall of Famers, the great people that I grew up idolizing. I never quite got to that level, but I did. I think, whether it was a goal or I think I accomplished what I started out to do, was to win races, to be a driver, and train horses, and understand horses. And I also, I'm a little bit ahead of myself, I was a very good student in school. So I had options. I wasn't any good at sports. I wasn't any good at school. So here you go. Maybe this is my last chance. I better be good at this. So I spent hours and hours of working, studying, trying to figure out horses. And I'm pretty satisfied with the way my life has gone. I think I've done about as much as I can do as far as any kind of records. And I don't want to be the oldest guy ever to drive. That's not a goal I want to have. But I don't watch Justin drive. Brad drives in California, and be happy the rest of my life. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.